All right. So we're now heading back from Charlotte, North Carolina, and Rock Hill, South Carolina. So basically, this is Coach D on the road for mixed martial arts. The goal is to develop the sport and kind of get as much attention on these gyms and on these coaches and on these fighters, as we can. So I decided to do this new, podcast called, Growing the Sport. It's going to be a docu-series where we talk about, what the sport is doing from the local level. And of course, all you guys already know, I work with USF MMA, for amateur mixed martial arts, and it's time for us to start, developing these fighters, man, and getting them the exposure and getting some attention on them, and start grooming them, for international competition. It's one thing to go out there and fight on a local level, hope you do good and hope you not do good. It doesn't matter. But if you're not developing that fighter, you're not making sure they're getting the type of coaching, they're getting the type of training from strength and conditioning, nutrition. If we're not grooming these fighters, as the sport evolves, a lot of fighters are not going to be, up to speed because they're not training for that level, the international level. From these other nations, these fighters, some of them train all year long. Some of them are, funded by their nations or funded by, by their state or their government to where they can train all year long with some of the highest talent, highest, access to the latest technology, access to the latest, training, and they can do it all year long. So they're coming, to the world stage, far more advanced than somebody, who's at, a local gym with just one coach, and that one coach does everything. That fighter may not be prepared, to compete on the international level. So we're trying to make sure that we get more exposure to the sport, and we're grooming this talent. We're kind of, not so much handpicking, but we have the eye on fighters that we know who we can develop, and start creating systems where these fighters get what they need, or they're going to the gyms that get it done. So on this trip, I went to Keith Richardson's gym. I think it was Modern Warrior MMA. And I went to see some of his fighters. He had a couple of young guys that he's grooming that, down the line may be potential candidates. And of course, he's a fellow Marine, so I'm checking in on him and checking on his gym and seeing, what he's doing. He was training with Hayastan out of North Carolina. They're shut down right now, so they're not allowed to open up. So, they've been coming up here to get training in and things like that. So, then from there, I went over to see Michael Allen. And he does checkmat, jiu-jitsu out of Charlotte, and actually his son, Edward Allen, he will be competing July 18th at NFC, so I went to talk to him and gave him, his shine and talked to him about what he's doing in the sport, what his goals are, see if he's, ready for this fight life, and apparently he is, and he's been trained right, and a lot of people are excited to see what he's going to bring to the table, me included. So this is that time. It's time to really get out there and, and do the rounds. If we don't do it, we're not going to be ready. The competition I've seen, when I was over in Singapore, these guys were legit, both male and female. They were ready. They were ready for this game, and they were amateurs. You know what I'm saying? And they were fighting like pros. I mean, they were well-trained, well-seasoned. They had, real great ring generalship, you know what I'm saying? And, if we want to be ready for that type of competition, we're going to have to step up. It's not, it's not going to be an option. We're going to have to step up, plain and simple. You know what I'm saying? We have to get out there and grow the sport, try to find, not only grow the sport, but find support so the sport can grow, either sponsorships or, people who are willing to invest in the sport, from donations on up, whatever we can do to make sure the sport gets what it needs so that we can prepare for the Olympics, in 2028. You know what I'm saying? So even though it's 8 years away, that's really not that long when you're developing a fighter. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it takes time to get a fighter where they need to be. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be more than 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, to get that fighter to be seasoned, to grow pro, especially when you have contracts on the table from one championship, to where if you shine and you do what you're supposed to do and you become a breakout star as an amateur, you can go pro with a contract already waiting on you at one championship. So there's opportunities for fighters to step up and develop their game. So there's no need for me to, sit in the house and, stay behind the computer. I got to get out there and start talking to fighters. I got to start recruiting. I got to start, working with these coaches, working with these venues, working with these promoters, so that we can start making sure a constant flow of talent is being developed on a monthly basis. So then when the nationals come up, when USF MMA does a national tournament, we have fighters ready to go. And then from there, the winners of the national tournament can now compete at the world stage, when everything's running, like it's supposed to. Granted, with the coronavirus right now, we got a lot of stuff that, we're trying to get worked out, but, eventually it will be worked out and we'll be back to business as usual. So that's the goal, man, to start, getting on the road and talking to fighters. And that's what you see me doing. I'm on the road talking to coaches. I'm on the road talking to fighters. I'm on the road giving the up-and-coming talent some shine, you know what I'm saying? And we're developing a system that gets it done, a system of development across the board. And, hey, we got plenty of work to do. It's not going to be done overnight. It will take time, but I'm sure we can get there. When everybody gets on board and they see the vision, they see the potential, they just roll with it. So like I said, this is what I'm doing. Now I'm driving back to Columbia, South Carolina. Time to edit what I got. So like I said, this is Coach D out here making it work, first episode of growing the sport for amateur mixed martial arts, on the national, international stage. So follow what I'm doing. You'll see more episodes on a regular basis, and, just keep staying tuned and we see where it goes. All right, this is Coach D. Till you hear from me again, peace out.